Yo.
Yeah.
I tried to switch it up this week, guys. I didn't want to do the all right. All right, guys, welcome back. We on another one. What's this, episode 16? Yeah. Woo! Intelligent Idea Talkers Podcast. I'm your host, D.
This is Juice.
It's your boy, Jay.
Yo. Yeah, we in the building. So welcome back, guys. Hey.
Yeah, let's shout out this
Hey, come on, Juice. Damn it. Why you always trying to read labels on the podcast,
so
man?
damn good, though.
But where, can we get a toast,
All right,
guys?
toast right here? Yeah.
I think this is gonna be our new our new thing
Yeah.
coming in. You know what I mean? We're just gonna toast up. Sometimes we might express what we're drinking, but you guys don't need to know all that. It's wine, people. All right, it's wine.
But this time is that cupcake.
Hey, it's manly cupcakes though. All right, chocolate.
Manly cupcake red
You know
velvet
what I mean?
wine, son.
It's pretty good. You know?
We ain't saying it's sweet.
Yeah, it ain't sweet. Definitely ain't sweet. A little bit bitter, but hey, sometimes you gotta roll with the bitter dark red instead of the sweet red. That's what she said. Let's roll into it. So we got a couple topics today.
Yeah,
we're gonna jump right into them.
We're gonna try to keep it a little short this time, just go around. But so I was online and where I usually reside, and I came across this CBR.com website, comic book resources, and there's this article by Stephen Girding, and so it talks about DC and their whole resurrection, or not resurrection, the whole rebirth series they're doing right now. Trying to bring back old superheroes, old villains, and kind of refreshing them for like the modern stage. So this article is titled, "Why DC Comics Resurrected One of Its Most Racist Villains." When you look into the article, it talks about how they're reintroducing a villain by the name of
Ching Lung,
which I don't want to say that's a stereotypically Chinese name, but
Not stereotypical at all.
nah, like, I wouldn't lung like
Yeah.
you breathe
Ching?
things, right?
All right.
Ching.
But
I don't-
so what does he do? What's his powers? Like
See,
why is he bad?
as far as I've been able to put together, and there's like almost no info, at least on the DC website, on the DC wiki, but he's just a villain, and not even like a mainstream villain. Like he was a villain off of some like Detective Comics. Not Batman, but some dude named like Arthur Perry or something. So he wasn't even like, the guy wasn't even like a hero. He was just like a detective. And somehow they decided that of all characters, to bring back this particular villain. And it
says with his Fu Manchu style facial hair, cartoonishly offensive eyes, and Chinese outfit, he embodies virtually every offensive stereotype Asian characteristic.
yeah.
But
He was considered
we discussed precast how he was it illustrated or written by an Asian guy?
right, and that's the thing.
So
right?
how is he written? Like, is he stereotypical in the way that he's? Because I don't know much about this guy.
So my whole thing
And
is
I guess
like,
that's the
I
whole
haven't
point of
actually
resurrecting
read of this guy in any comics. Like in the comics I've read, like this is from like I think like the 50s or the 30s, like a long time ago when I think this guy was featured. Yeah, it was 1937. He was first featured in Detective Comics. So this is,
Gene Yang is actually the writer. Billy Tan does the pencils. But,
so like you said, he was he's a creation of. Okay, so yeah, he was written into comics by an Asian comic writer,
Mm-hmm.
and drawn by Asian. But the question is that okay? Like,
I think it is. I mean, right? It's okay if, which is going to curtail us into our overall big topic is racial slurs amongst different ethnic groups when it's okay and not okay to use it, but. I think it's okay. He was written and penciled by Asians.
So,
but here's it. But
so,
wait.
If the Asian, so because he's Asian and he wrote it, it's okay. What if like a white dude or like a black guy, like wrote it or drew it? Then it'd be different.
It would definitely be different. It would definitely be different. But also, on top of that, though, I gotta throw this out there. What if it was like you switch the table, right? You turn the table. You have a molasses black, big lip, white, wide-eyed Rock Lee looking like comic book character, right?
I feel you, like a character.
Yeah, like a caricature.
Yeah.
But he's written by a black guy into he's written into and drawn by a black guy. Is that caricature? Because this is what this Jing Young Lung is. He's a caricature of, I guess, what they thought of the Chinese in 1930s. Which, dude, we're talking about the 1930s, so I get it. Like, I'm not like back then. Nobody thought twice about this.
Yeah, no, exactly,
like the reason this is a thing is because they're bringing it up into it's 2017.
It was so easy to steer
right
public opinion with media because you only had a few outlets.
Exactly.
So if you wanted to spin any kind of
there was no dissenting arguments. Like,
exactly. You know what I mean? This is the way we're telling you, so it's true.
Which is why I thought this was so interesting. The first time I saw this, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of read more into it and saw that Gene was the one who, was the writer for it. And I was like, okay. I mean, I still don't know how I feel about it, but I guess it's a little bit more acceptable because he's Asian.
Yeah, I mean, even...
What about, like, the Boondocks?
But the Boondocks aren't caricatures.
Sure, but I mean, like... where do you draw the line?
I mean, some of those rapper dudes are characters.
I don't know much about the behind the scenes of Boondocks, whether they were written and penciled by African Americans, but I mean they had African Americans portraying their characters on screen, so I would think that that's okay as well. I mean, when is it not how should you tell any group of people when they should be offended by something? You know what I mean? So like it even goes back to, I didn't want to go into this so soon, but it even goes back to like the Redskins name, right? And, people around here were really offended. And across the nation, across the world, were offended about the Redskins, and it became a hot button topic. But, when should me as a black person be able to tell an Native American if they should be offended by somebody calling them another name? Like, it's like if me and Juice are out at the store and this woman hears me call Juice a nigga. Hey, what's up, my nigga? You know what I mean? That's like her coming up to Juice and being mad that he's not mad that I called him a nigga. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just depends.
But there's always a spin on that thing, It's like...
It is.
Like, my argument with the Redskins, before... We're going to get into that, but...
Yeah.
I think, back to the topic, though, is... So would this be okay? Like, again, would this be okay if it was a black character and it was written by a black guy in the comic and they were... So let's say they did the same thing. Like, back in the 30s, they had this ridiculous caricature of a black guy in the comic book or whatever. And then...
Which they probably did.
They rewrote... Right. And then they rewrote him, like, now. Right? And they brought him back. It's like, is that a character you would want, like, even dug up? Because I think that would go to the heart of this article. Like, the article is like... why did they resurrect this overtly racist book?
I think that's a great question. Why? And one of the Gene, when he was interviewed, he said that he wanted to take it back, redo that, take back ownership of that image. So
I can dig that, right?
I think probably just to diversify their pool as far as characters. I mean, trying to bring back the whole comic book genre, they need to try to reach as many different cultural backgrounds as possible, and that includes having characters of different backgrounds and cultures. I mean, the comic book, I'm sorry to say this, I grew up on comic books, I haven't read them in years. Mm-hmm. It's a dying business, right? Because the book itself, you know what I mean? Because now you have movies and TV shows. Like, comic books would be so much better if they could put them into like a visual format where you could see it and by episode, you know what I mean? And I think, if you release something on Netflix, that's why this won't have a large outcry, because it's in a comic book form. If they came out with a show and you could see this guy and the way he acts and, and
see, I get the whole, bringing diversity and all that stuff, but, why focus on the negative then? Why not focus on, positive attributes and stuff?
Even, a character like the Red Skull, right, from Captain America, right? They had him in movies. He's been in animations, but he was a spinoff of Nazi culture. You know what I mean?
Nazi, yeah.
What they call him? What was the name of their Hydra?
Yeah, Hydra.
Pale Hydra.
Pale, you know what I mean? Nazis, yeah, straight up.
Straight up
so
Nazis.
Comic books have always had commentaries on these, on history. Comic books have always had commentaries on history.
So is it okay
Captain America's been punching out Hitler, for 100 years now. It's like,
is it okay for a comic book to enter that realm then? I mean, is that okay?
Absolutely.
Because it's purely
Still free speech.
hypothetical.
Exactly, it's free speech, but I think that that's one of the reasons comic books have had such a pertinent role in society. I think that's why the stories now are so relevant. Because what was Civil War about? Like, Civil War came out in the 90s. They remade it.
It's a freaking awesome movie.
Right, the movie was awesome, but the comic, I'll be honest, the comic book was even deeper, dude.
Mm-hmm.
There's
so many more characters involved.
There's so many more characters involved. They killed Goliath, a black guy who was a hero, killed by another hero, and then they're all faces this moral questions is this what we're doing right? Is this registration right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this or is this is this against the Constitution having superheroes rights? But then there and of course there's always been commentaries on war. Punisher is a commentary on the Vietnam War, right? There's all these different political aspects in comic books, and I definitely think that that's always led to a more in-depth reading, right? No one wants to, you can read things completely detached, or you can read light stories, and some comic books have light stories, but they do reach into these more realistic or more conflicting realms, and I think that's when their sales spike, and I think because you're constructing a novel type story, something that'll make you feel something, right?
You always lose something in the transference of a story from the written page to the visual format, because there's just not enough time in the visual format to tell all these stories. I even tell people a story like a Game of Thrones. I've read all the books, and that story is so much richer in the written text than it is on the show. It goes so much deeper, and it's the same thing like you were saying with Civil War. It would be the same thing with this this comic book that we're talking about now, if they put it in a visual format. But I think that's why this won't make a large outcry or a large buzz, because it's in the comic book world. And
also,
so what do you guys think about the whole idea, though, of using ethnic slurs, ethnic stereotypes and stuff, though? For example, there's a Asian American rock band called the Slants that a lot of people were creating a big fuss about, and the first time I actually heard it was when a friend of mine was telling me, hey, yo, have you heard the band The Slants? Kind of fucked up, right? And for me, when I first heard it, I was like, wow, that's kind of messed up. And then I was like, why are you telling me this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
It's
so I was like, okay. So I was like, well, you know what? Thank you for bringing that up to my attention. I want to do some more research. Upon doing my research, they're all Asian. And they basically said they want to take back that word, I guess.
It's weird, right? I imagine, what if the band was white? Would you say the band members were white and they were called the Slants? I wouldn't even think that they were making a reference to Asians.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't even think. I'm okay, so what? They odd angles. I don't know.
Exactly. No, and the thing is, I think it's because they made it controversial. Right. That people are talking about it more, and I guess it's similar to Gene's character of Ching Lung. I don't know if it's a publicity thing, or what, but he certainly got my attention. But unfortunately, I don't know how I feel about this. Maybe number one, I don't like offensive overtones in general, but at the same time, though, I also honor freedom of speech, and also, he's Asian. So, I mean...
Dude, I just thought about something related to comic books. I don't know why it never came to me before, reading this thing. But, do you know comic book villain the Mandarin?
Mm-hmm.
He was in Iron Man 3, right?
Yeah.
But in Iron Man 3, he was...
I didn't think they did him well in that movie. I wanted him to be a little more
But when you look at the Mandarin, he's literally Xing Lung. He's the Fu Manchu. Mm-hmm. He's got this old Chinese armor, I guess, or whatever, but... He's got these long hook nails.
They always look so much more badass,
crazy,
in the comics.
Creepy.
Yeah,
no, but I'm saying the comic depiction of him might have been a little racist.
But wasn't
he's
he
greenish yellow, dude?
Wasn't he
not
of Asian descent?
It's a thing. Huh? What?
Wasn't he of Asian descent when
the Mandarin?
The Mandarin? Yeah.
The Mandarin is Chinese.
Yeah. So
no, but I'm saying
it was kind of maybe a little bit over the top drawn, but.
What about Big Trouble in Little China?
Hey, in the movie, he looked. White.
This is how. That's how the Mandarin looks. Dude. Like he looks like that.
Hey, now don't. Hey, come on. Attack Big Trouble in Little China. All right, that's one of the hood classics.
I love that.
Yeah, that goes back to childhood. It's like the Goonies or something. You know what I mean?
Hey.
Like that's what I said, man. We got to start watching these movies, man. Pick movies from our childhood. Just go back on it, man.
It's because you gotta leave it in time, right? Like you have to always have this reference.
You ever seen the movie?
It was in the 80s.
You ever seen the movie The Toxic Avenger?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I watched that movie maybe like a year or so ago, man. I don't even remember which one it was. That is such a horrible, offensive movie. I'm like, why did I ever like this movie? It's a classic because it comes from our childhood, but
yeah.
I mean, man, you have to watch that movie again if we get a chance.
We get this video. Hold up though.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Like the first Guyver. It doesn't hold up, man.
It's cheesy.
It doesn't hold up.
That's only because you can see the guys in the costumes now. You know what I mean? Like.
But when I was a kid, that was my shit.
Oh yeah, the guy was the movie.
But, real talk.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. Racial slurs are okay, as long as depends on what the intent is behind it, right? Because even a black person, right? Me being a black man, I think I can speak to this. If another black guy calls me a nigga, right? And depends on the context in which he uses the word nigga. He could be like, yo, what's up, nigga? Hey, man, nigga, you tripping, you know, or whatever kind of rhetoric.
Even if he was like yelling at you like in an argumentative form.
But if he came from an argumentative form, he'd be like, man, you acting like a nigga, you know what I mean? And the niggas always, you know what I mean? So it just depends on which, you know, what kind of context he's coming at me with the word, you know? And that is amplified when you start picking different races to use different words to describe people.
Exactly, it is amplified. I'm thinking about like if I'm in an argument with a black guy and he's like, man, you're a dumb nigger, yeah? Like, I don't take it the same way as if a white dude would say that shit or anybody else. Like, I can't imagine me.
You'll still be mad.
Like, I'll be mad. Like, he's yelling at me. Like, you calling me shit? Why? But if a white dude called me that, John, in that exact same tone, like, it's over. Like, you have to fight him.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends because I've had white friends who
I'm saying,
were so used to hanging out with a bunch of black guys that they started saying the word nigga. Mm-hmm. Hey, what's up, nigga? Oh, nigga, you tripping. You know what I mean? And they just saying it in normal conversation, and we didn't necessarily get offended by it. That's why I said it's the context in which you're using it. You know
but also,
what I mean?
you're not looking out for them.
Yeah. But say that, you know, a
you
third
look
party
out for them, though. Like,
was over listening to your
know
conversation.
Him. Yeah,
they'd be like, yo.
So why you gonna let him call you that? Yeah. But, you know, it depends.
You gotta look out for their safety. Like, look. Like school, I guess school we say, right? But or like between us, but like, dude, just hang on to that shit. Like, don't just be spouting that shit everywhere.
You know what? It's yeah. I mean, it even goes to the name Redskins, right? We've had this debate before from the podcast, and look, I'm a Redskins fan, but I'm totally for changing the name. Just change it, man. Steer away from any type of, because nowadays in this world where we're so socially conscious and everybody has an opinion, each individual person can put their opinion out there via social media. Like, you have to stay away from any kind of racial tensions, and because people get offended by anything nowadays, man. People get offended by anything. Like, you know, there'll be a black person sitting next to another black person. I hate to keep harping on the word nigga, but that's maybe one of the most common used racially, you know, gendered names or whatever you want to call it that we, you know, that we use in normal rhetoric.
Calls it the N-word.
Yeah, you know, so if I'm sitting next to a black guy and I say nigga, I might not get offended. The guy next to me might, and we're both black. We're both from the same culture. You know what I mean? But you know, it just depends.
You know, I must say that Louis C.K. is hilarious because he hates the N-word because he goes, "You motherfuckers! When you guys say N-word, you're making me say it in my head. So you guys are making me racist."
You know, one quick blurb.
I've seen that shit.
I was watching a lot of.
He's a funny dude, man.
I've been watching a lot of documentaries lately, and you know, normal words that we use and talk, like the word motherfucker. I just thought of it when you said that. Everybody uses the word motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
Motherfucker. That, well, I've heard. I'm not sure the truth of this, but watching a documentary, I heard that word actually came from slave days when it was camps that used to have called buck busting camps. You know, and where you would break down the largest male of a group of slaves, and you would breed slaves. Mm-hmm. And they started calling slaves motherfuckers because as a way to demasculate the strongest men in the, you know, amongst the group, they would make them fuck their own mothers, you know. and they would, and buck busting was when the slave holders or masters or overseers, whatever you want to call it, would actually rape men in front of the group to demasculate them and, break down the group. And, it was just a psychological form of and a sexual form of breaking these guys. But yeah, I just thought about that when you said the word motherfucker. It's crazy because so many people use that. Right? I don't know the validity of that story. Like, were they not using the word motherfucker before that?
The history of the word fuck. Hold on, let me see if I can get this right, man. So the history of the word fuck was right after the bubonic plague, right? So it started at that time. And
how horrible was that to live through, the bubonic plague?
And
Jesus.
I'll tell you, few people lived through it. So because the populations were so reduced, it became mandatory for everybody, for people had to have sex a lot to try to, procreate, create more people.
So many people were dying.
So you'll go to a town and you'll have what do you call it? A declaration or something. And it was fornication, under
the consent of the king.
Consent of the king, right?
I heard about that.
So fuck, you're right. It was a fornication under the consent of the king. So they will say, okay, so right, you can fuck because you have permission from the king. Because you was a Christian nation, you couldn't just you weren't supposed to just be going around fucking everybody, but fuck it.
Well, yeah, I mean, how true are these things though? You know what I mean? Like, it's like.
It could be true.
It could be, and it could not be.
I heard bullshit.
Were they not
heard
using
that
the word
was bullshit though, but
it might be bullshit. It sounds like some shit that might be bullshit. Because fornication under declaration or under consent of the king,
even motherfucking. I mean, is that a tactic that they learned in colonial days in America, or was it used in colonialization of Africa in years and decades before that? You know what I mean? Were they not employing the same tactics?
I don't know.
It's hard to trust stories nowadays.
It's hard to know, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I won't put any of these things past a motherfucker. I would just definitely be like, you know what? They were horrendously mean people back in those days.
Could you imagine living back
slaves? So
in those days? I mean,
that wouldn't be outside of their scope of punishments.
Yeah, I mean, when you can just get raided and just enslaved, and what hope do you have, man? You know what I mean? It sucks, man. Even going back to our conversation, were we talking about this on the cast? You're stranded on an island, and how long would it be before you were able to send an email? It's like, I don't think any of us would survive on a desert island alone, man. Like, we were talking about the movie Castaway. There's no way we would survive on an island, man, because that's not the era and that's not the life that we were raised into. You know what I mean? Like, we're used to having, people at fingertips reach. You know what I mean? Like, what do we know about survival skills? You know what I mean? We see videos on YouTube and everything, but could we actually go do any of that shit?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like,
we live in a different age.
We can.
I think we can too.
I think
some of us can.
We have the capacity.
I don't think the majority.
I think if you had the drive and if you had the will, if you weren't just
the intuition to do
depressed, I think people can get up and create things, especially when it comes to food, when it comes to foraging. We're natural foragers.
Okay, so regarding food, and looking for food and stuff, right? Hunting is incredibly difficult when you have to make your own weapons.
Yeah.
On top of that, how many people in the past have died eating random berries or
bullets?
Funguses or whatever?
Yeah, how do you know which plant is safe to eat?
Exactly.
If you don't have a culture of
and how many of us real talk can actually make fire?
Hey, I saw Castaway.
I can make some fucking fire.
We can probably make fire.
I'm sure I can.
But I mean, the vast majority of the population in the United States, I'm going to say no, man. That's just my guess. I don't think that.
I would never let that shit go out though. But I mean.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. We're so dependent. It's just the culture and society we live in. And it's not just us, I don't think, man. This is worldwide. Consumerist culture.
Well, technology has been increasing, getting more and more advanced. So we rely on that. So we don't have to do these things. I mean, we have
how long before they put lighters in your cell phone and shit?
Your cell phone is going to be an all-knowing thing. You know what I mean?
It already is.
It is.
The fact that you have the whole world at your fingertips.
The fact that we're pulling up articles right now.
And we're watching cat videos instead.
Exactly.
You can check your biochemistry on your cell phone. I heard they have this app where you can measure your temperatures, like a thermometer. You know what I mean? Like one of those wellness apps.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like
your
you
heart.
plug this thing into your phone, and then you put the thermometer piece into your mouth, and it can tell you your body temperature, and it's crazy, man. It's like everything is going to be through your phone. And guess what? The chips that they implant. I'm a conspiracy theorist. The chips these phones, they want to implant these under your skin. You know what I mean? Like they want to, chip
right
families.
Your ear.
Yeah, so that way, I mean, like you can just all of your money and everything.
Stuff,
yo, real talk. Right?
All of your money will be on that chip. All of your information will be on that chip. They no longer have to ask you for a driver's license. You push your thumb up to it. You know what I mean? And all of your information comes up. Yeah, I think that's the way the world is trending.
I'm the cynic of the group, right? So when I hear things about chips, I just immediately think about hackers. Like, what does someone hack your identity? How much? Like, then you're walking around with nothing. Then you're completely lost.
When everything you have is digital, it's in digital form.
Yeah,
it can be hacked and taken over.
They might link that shit to your DNA though. They can link. I mean, just throw. If we talk about science fiction shit, let me throw that shit out there too.
Blow you up from the chip.
Exactly.
That's some battle royale stuff, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like
eliminate them. But back to the race talk. I mean, I think it's perfectly fine.
So you brought up a point earlier about like how people shouldn't like how does somebody tell another group of people how to feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my answer to that really, in the way I think about it, is like you don't have to tell every individual how they feel, but if there is like a general consensus, like most of the time, like if you're honest with yourself, you know if you did some wrong shit, right? Mm-hmm. So if it comes to like, so using the Redskins for example, sure, there's Native Americans that aren't offended at all by the Redskins, but there's some that are, and the fact is, you can't ignore those that are.
The fact that those are offended,
right? Offended.
We should honor that.
Like for whatever reason, those who aren't offended by it, I mean, good for them. Or maybe they're detached. Maybe they're so Americanized. Maybe they're so industrialized. Right? It doesn't matter to them. Maybe they haven't like had a spiritual tribal meeting or whatever they do.
Who are we to judge though?
Right? Who? Like
that's
like
true.
You can't judge them.
That's true for the same thing as the word nigga,
exactly.
or the same thing as this comic book that we were talking about. I mean, there are some people who are going to be offended by it, and there's some people who are not.
But you don't.
So those who are offended by it because they're offended by it, should the rest of us? And that's the kind of question right now. Should we stop?
They call that being politically correct.
But doesn't that impose on freedom of speech?
To political correctness.
When you tell me I can't use the word nigga, right? I hate to keep beating this drum. It seems like there's always like one word or one phrase or something that I use constantly for each cast, but like the word nigga, like if you tell me I can't use that word in public, is that infringing upon my freedom of speech? You know what I mean? Like, if there's an Indian person that comes in who's comfortable saying the word Redskins.
Where we are right now with the whole Redskins thing, like, I think that
it's like, where does it end?
Of course, but I think that we are being a little bit more progressive as a society. We're trying to take care of others. Like, if we go back, a couple of years ago, like, if you look at some of the most offensive, like, team names out there, in Robstown, Texas, they had the Cotton Pickers. Or they had the white faces. Or they had the white faces of Here for Texas.
It would be in Texas.
They even have the Dangerous Darkies. They even have the Chinks of Illinois. They even have the Arabs of California. I mean, like, Coachella Valley High School. Like, I believe that we're at least over that. But, like, Redskins, what about Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish? Like, some of these things are still in existence
if they're
now.
Irish, my whole thing is, if they're Irish people that are offended by the Fighting Irish, then fucking change the name. Like, it's not that hard, dude.
Even the same thing with Redskins. Where does it end? Because then you go back down the line. You change the name of the Redskins. People are going to say, well, I don't like the Fighting Irish. Change that name. And then they're going to say, I don't like the Seminoles.
The Bullets, right?
Yeah.
They turned the Bullets away. That was, to me personally, that changing the Bullets to the Wizards was stupid.
I don't know if that was any better, too. You know what I'm saying?
It's all right. I like it. I like it. Why not? I mean, because it was a violent name, and even like I said, I'm on it with the name Redskins.
You know what I'm saying?
But where does it end? Because then you're going into corporate America, and when you start changing these teams' names, that affects bottom lines and merchandise sales and marketing. It's like, it's not just to say let's change it because this particular group of people is. I mean,
and it's not like you guys can't. It's not like people can't use it. Like nobody's saying you can't use these words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's saying you can't use these terms, but the whole thing is, I think society as a whole should be okay with not saying, "Oh, we're just being politically correct." I think it should be, "Oh, if you're going to use this word, fine, you could use it. Freedom of speech. Nobody's going to lock you up, but you should be treated with the contempt that you deserve for using a ridiculous or mean word that offends somebody like that." Like white people can call people niggas, whatever. You can, but there will be consequences, and you will have to deal with those consequences. Like I think that, but the whole thing, and I don't want to call it the right and shit, but whatever. But these people will say, "Oh, get over it," or N-word is not a bad word, or you call us crackers, or whatever. Like the whole thing is, I lost my.
The word is a word. We have to look
Right,
at
it's just a
like the
word.
historical like connotations of that. Like where did that even stem from? Like there's a lot of meanings to that. Like for example, if you still have the cotton pickers of like Texas right now, like that's just a word. But if you look at the historical context of that, that's messed up. You know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, how would you guys feel?
It's messed up, but it's truth in it almost because historically, you know, if you go back in Texan history, this country is founded on racism and segregation.
Absolutely.
And you know, that's in the moral fabric of the country. You know what I mean? Like,
Until you
I'm
change
black,
it.
you're white. I think that's only going to come through time. Though. Laws and legislation and whatnot is not going to change that. Because then you change how people feel. You know? Yeah, it's like I've been on my Black History Month kick. You know, and I've been watching a lot of speeches from like Malcolm X, and you know, I think last. Podcast, you know, when you're talking about I'm Not Your Negro, I definitely want to see that. I saw another commercial on that joint. Yeah, I want to see that.
I keep on reading about that.
We're talking about Malcolm X's dead body, so it spurred me to watch a lot of his speeches and whatnot, you know, before he was assassinated in 1965. But it's just like when you hear how he was talking and, you know, like how different he was, and like he was saying a lot of things that people felt. Man, he made at one point, man, it was crazy. It was like, I never thought about this from this angle. Like when black people were freed, you know, and, you know, even, you know, it was 1865, the end of the Civil War. He said, like, you know, I never thought about this, right? I'm thinking like, well, you know, we were still oppressed and all that, and we were. But he said white people were scared, you know what I mean? They were actually scared because these people that they had oppressed and held down, you know, for so long were all of a sudden free, and they had guns. I never thought about that, John, though. I was like, wow, you would be scared if, you know, 500 slaves got freed on the plantation up the road and they were all armed, you know what I mean? 300 of them were armed and they were men, you know what I mean?
Wait,
like, damn, these guys might come.
They weren't allowed to have guns.
I mean, how are you going to enforce that law, though?
Right.
After the Civil War and Reconstruction, and there's no way you can reinforce that. But I don't know, man. Just this country was founded on a fabric of racism, and you know, to leave out things like the cotton pickers. I'm not saying it's right, but it's a level of truth in it because it reminds us of what we came from. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost an erasing of it. You don't want to erase history. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't want
to erase it.
So you want to
you don't want to celebrate.
You don't want to stay there either.
But why would you not want to celebrate that part of history when we celebrate Black History Month? I mean, we celebrate.
There's nothing.
We celebrate Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. So it's not that there's anything celebratory about the cotton pickers, right? And this was a name of a high school in Texas. Nothing celebratory about it, but it's. Say you change the name from the cotton pickers to the Rangers or something. You know what I mean? Like,
That's great.
So generations of kids will grow up in that area and think about all the kids who don't know anything about their racial background as far as
My whole
cotton
thing
picking.
is, if they're getting their history from
Correctly.
the name of a sports team, then there's another big problem going on here.
Where's
like
the
they need to
education
be
system?
taught their history.
Yeah.
Like, yes, slavery is a part of Black American history, but to think that it's okay to name a sports team that you would cheer for after that,
Because you don't want
that's
some dude wearing a
useless.
t-shirt
So
like
in
that.
the end,
So
it's
why-
counterproductive.
So why fight against a team like the Cotton Pickers or the Redskins? And I'm not saying that they're right. Like I said, I'm totally for the Redskins changing their name, even the Cotton Pickers changing
This
their name.
dialogue is
But why even fight against them if you're not going to fight against the Fighting Irish or
I would say we should
the Cleveland Indians or any character of
so
any
here's
group
my
or race of
outtake.
people.
Here's my outtake. I think that we probably should just change the name because really, what is in a name? The reason why
Name is marketing,
of course,
Name is
but the
branding.
reason why I wouldn't want like say the cotton pickers to still exist and stuff because as the generations go on and these children who are they've never been slaves in their life. Their mom and dads have never been slaves in their life still, but they're reminded of this, and then that might evoke some emotions that might cause them to kind of be upset. So, in theory, if you look at wars, all over the world, like say Jerusalem or Palestinians and stuff, right? Like they're fighting the wars of their grandparents,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, when is this going to end then? If we continue to have, like, the cotton pickers or, like...
It's like having an embarrassing thing thrown back up into your face, which you and your family have forgot about for
Right.
about 100
So, I mean,
years.
like...
But do you want to forget about it? I mean, what is
I
the
don't think
point of
that we
having
should forget about
I don't
it.
think we
Black
should
History
learn
Month
from
then?
it.
Because if you're saying that, like, say the civil rights struggle and people getting attacked by police dogs in the street, should we not show pictures of that anymore? I mean, we moved on. Generations of us have never been attacked by
I would prefer a
police
team be
dogs.
named the Civil Rights Fighters over the cotton pickers, though.
positive.
'Cause
Civil
that is
rights fighters would be a cool name.
But that's a positive.
That would be
that's
tight.
a positive.
But what if white people in that
connotation?
area got offended that their kids were going to a school called the Civil Rights Fighters? Say they said that we had nothing to do with civil
Then
rights.
it's fair for the black people to be offended by the
because
names
if
being
they're
the
from
cotton
the
pickers.
South, they weren't for that.
It just depends, man, because like everywhere we turn, we're infringing on people's rights, right? Somebody's going to be not upset as somebody else at the same
What
issue.
a great discussion.
It is,
Well,
right?
I feel like so that's fine. Like that means everybody's thinking, right? But that at no point does everybody being offended by every other thing mean that you just give up the fight and be like, oh, just do whatever the fuck you want. Go ahead and offend. Go ahead, because all that does is escalate. All that does is escalate to fucking Trump. That's what that shit does.
Yeah, I mean,
Also, if you look at who is offended, if it's the majority of the minority groups who are being offended, that should be more reason to listen. But those who are not offended, they might not be part of that minority group.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like, let's say the cotton pickers, let's say like a bunch of black people are offended. I get that. But if more white people aren't offended because they have higher numbers, should we just like forget about it? No, we have to look at the people who are affected by this. So. I mean,
that would be the people who would suffer from having that connotation or that.
Also,
same
like
with the
with
Dakota pipeline, right? It didn't affect a large majority of us, but it would affect a certain group of people. So it's the same kind of issues, same kind of empathy
and
for
set a precedent.
Same kind of empathy
because
for,
then, like, if it's okay to stomp on like these people, like, what about the next group of people?
Right.
Then you know what
Like,
I'm saying?
who's
Like,
next then?
no, exactly, and like also just going back with like, oh man, like if some white dude drop like an ethnic slur on like this other group of people, like. We're going back to the whole cotton picker, like, mascot team name thing. Like, I don't know how comfortable I would feel if a bunch of white dudes were cheering for, like, cotton pickers. And but let's think about sports for a second, right? Let's just be stereotypical for a second. The majority of people who play basketball or, say, football would be black people. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about white people cheering for black people while calling them cotton pickers, wearing a giant t-shirt that says, like, cotton picker. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I'm not saying I support the name cotton picker.
Cringe
That's
word.
unbelievably a
It's
racist
cringy,
name.
yo. It's
Right?
cringy.
I mean, like, I think anybody who hears that word nowadays would do a double take. What? The cotton what? Yeah. But, I mean, athletics.
Polyester.
One thing with athletics and sports in general is that is one of the only things that can galvanize and bind any groups of people together, maybe like no other thing can. You know what I mean? Because, white, black, whatever, not
Sports.
particularly the cotton pickers, but
that's true.
Just athletics in general.
Can you imagine
can cheer for the same team, same
if
person?
it was like a computer company down the street that was called the Cotton Pickers? It'd be completely different.
It would, but I mean, even the high school is completely different. The name has changed now, right? Did they change the name?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's unbelievably racist. I'm not saying I'm just pointing it out as an example, but
I mean,
it's just funny because people get offended one way, the same group of people don't get offended the other way. You know what I mean? Like, you could even flip it to the LBGT, right? Like some people say, you know what? If you're a church going or a God fearing person, you say, no, this is sinful. It's not right. I can't stand this. And then you have another group of the same type of people, white, black, whatever, that'll say, you know what? Let them have their rights. They're people too. You know what I mean? Like if that's the lifestyle you want to live it. And it's just, you never have people that are going to agree on the same thing. But it's like, why celebrate anything then? If we're going to move on from this type of a background and, so are y'all saying that the whole dissent is in the naming of these teams? Because they might have called people Redskins back in the day. They might have called people cotton pickers. You know what I mean? Maybe there were black people back in 1888 who said, "Hey, what's up, cotton picker?" You know what I mean? We don't know. You don't know that. You know what I mean? Right?
Maybe.
So there could have been.
That might have been his occupation
we don't
plantation.
know. We don't know. Even the Fighting Irish, right? It's that doesn't sound too particularly racist as the cotton pickers, but it's a character of a leprechaun, with his dukes up, and maybe there's some Irishmen who got offended by that. We shouldn't be mascotted and trotted out there like we're, a cartoon. But, there might be another group of people to say, "What's up, my Fighting Irish?" or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so it's always going to be dissent. Like, you don't know what's going to offend one person if it'll offend the next person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can put the effort into trying to find out.
I don't know. I say, where does the rabbit hole stop? It's the same discussion we had with just the Redskins before. It's like, because if you change the Redskins or even the cotton pickers, what's going to stop the next group of people from getting offended by this particular name? You know what I mean?
Here's the thing: we can
end up
break that
changing
down.
everything.
We can run through every scenario as far as how far that would go. So let's say we take the name Redskins and we name them, I don't know, the Rhinos. Right?
Man, hey, come on, man. Why not the Warriors or something? Cool.
Whatever.
The Rhinos.
All
Rhinos.
right.
I don't
so
know.
Who would be offended by the Warriors?
I guess peace lovers.
Peace lovers. All right, fine. Peace lovers are
Tree
offended
huggers?
by the Warriors, right? Tree huggers are offended by the Warriors. So we change that name to what? Something.
Then you're going up against a tycoon in the form of capitalism and corporate America. And
Here's the thing that really matters. If the team is
Public
winning,
sentiment-
you can name them the monkey butt scratchers, and nobody would care.
Do you want like a company
they
to
win.
like to be dominated and to push their marketing based on like stereotypes and based on racial?
That's what they do now, man. I tell you, I've been on my documentary things now.
But is that right though?
And they said that companies and advertising agencies and stuff like that, they push people into unthinking purchases now, and you don't think before you buy, or you don't think before you do. You just, that's why they'll have
It's there, let's get it.
That's why they have a commercial of a car going up a mountain or a mountain pass. You know what I mean? You're not going to get that car so you can drive up a mountain pass. You're going to get it so you can go back and forth to work. You know what I mean? But you'll buy it because it looks nice and it's the impulse of it. You know what I mean?
That's why Amazon has a one-click pay option.
Those bastards, yeah.
Yeah, dude, that shit is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
One-click
it's
pay, ship, all that shit.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell people to be offended about anymore, what they shouldn't be. The world is too big. There's too many opinions and people out there. You know what I mean?
You know what? Tell us what you think. Leave a comment.
Drop a comment.
And let us know what you think about this.
Like and subscribe.
Hey. But, yeah, man, hey,
I don't know.
I would say
there may not be answers, right?
I'm
there might
down
be an
with
answer,
anything.
but
We've had this discussion before. I'm for changing the Redskins name, but if they don't change it, see, now y'all make me feel bad for rooting for my own team. And you know what?
Come on.
Anytime I'm not going to feel bad because as
it.
long as their name is the Redskins, I will cheer for this team. But every time I look at it now, just from public sentiment and everything, and all the discussions we've had in the past on different podcasts and Intelligent Idea Talkers podcasts, is like every time I see that team name and like say we're playing in Cincinnati or San Francisco, and I'm thinking about the other people who were there in San Francisco. They look on the schedule. Oh, we're playing the Redskins. Oh, that's the racist team in Washington D.C. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like there's always this back thought, even in the fans' minds, of this is a racist team name. You know what I mean? Change the goddamn name so we can stop feeling like this. You know what I mean?
Washington in itself should be embarrassed. Like this is the country's capital.
Change the name.
You look around. It's not even a state. Washington D.C. is a province. I don't know whatever you call it, but it's not even a state. So and it's where the president is where the head of the country is where the federal laws are laid out for the entire world or the entire country, right? They should be ashamed.
We played
of the fact that they are named after a derogatory term for Native Americans.
We played a game,
especially with the North Dakota pipeline.
Exactly. What this whole pipeline situation?
If you have hashtag, like Dakota Pipeline shut it down and stuff. But you're also cheering for like the Redskins.
And you have Redskins in your profile picture.
But
come on, son.
It's like,
but it goes back. It goes back to there are some Native Americans who are offended, and you have to imagine there are some that are not. I mean, you guys are offended by it. I'm not as much offended by it.
I'm not offended.
None of us in here are Native Americans,
I think
but we have our own opinions, and it's the same thing with them. You know what I mean? Like, it just goes down to your opinion now. And unfortunately, unless they galvanize enough to create this massive movement of opinion, it's not going to change anything because there's not enough of us to do it.
But there might not be enough of them to actually like rally or.
We played a game in Britain this year in England, right? And that's all I was thinking about the whole game. That's a great game, man. We tied that game. I was so upset at that shit. But anyway, so that's all I'm thinking about. I'm like, yo, they're over there in Europe, England, and all these people see the Redskins. Let me Google Redskins. Oh, they have a lawsuit going against them to change the name of this racist team. You know what I mean? So it's like, God damn it, just change the name, man. But you know what pisses me off about nowadays? Public sentiment nowadays is like, what about 20 years ago, right? Say, what is this, 2016? What about 1996? 2017 says 1997, or even 1987, 30 years ago. And all these people who are going around, sports broadcasters, sports writers, regular fans who watch it, people that look at it, they were all saying the name Redskins. All right, they used to put it in their articles. Oh, the Washington Redskins won the Super Bowl. Oh, the Redskins won. The Redskins. And there was not this big public sentiment of being disgusted and appalled by this name.
But the majority of them were white, though.
Now, no. They had black people that were cheering for Redskins. I mean, it was just...
Yeah, but they weren't they weren't Native Americans.
Maybe that comes in the...
How about the platform of having the place to have a voice? So social media has allowed people to have a voice. So you can always have these opinions, but you don't have anywhere. What, you're going to write a letter to your congressman? That's just going to get shuffled into the fucking pile of nothing. Like, nobody's going to hear that dissent. Unless you're going to get enough people to rally and to go protest. Maybe you can do that. But for the most part, nobody's listening because the news won't cover your protest, right? So now there's a platform for people to have more of a voice. That's what I would imagine. If I had to guess, that's why it's a thing now. Because, hey, that's just some bullshit, and we're pointing it out.
But it's funny
now
that the
the
same
world
people,
can see.
That's a good point.
Hey,
it's funny
everybody
that
else is seeing
the same people who
bullshit
won't use the name now because they deem it offensive and everything used the name 20 years ago. You know what I mean? We had no problem saying the word Redskins 20, 25 years ago. Whatever. When did this thing heat up? About maybe 10 years ago? It really heated up.
10 years ago. But but here's the thing.
I'm tired of hearing it. I wish they would just change the name.
Here's the thing. When you heard it, were you like, oh, that's ridiculous? Or were you like,
what, Redskins?
Yeah. Like when I first heard them saying, oh, Redskins, when I first found out what Redskins meant and that it's referring to their skin color and how it might be a derogatory term, I was like, oh shit, that's like them calling me a nigga. And I was like, well, you know what? They should probably change the name.
I was saying, man, like I was kind of young when I heard that, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's akin to it, but again, how should we be able to tell anybody?
They literally called them Redskins. They called them Indians.
I would have just changed the name because you don't want to have any. You look around the league, 31 other teams. There's no other team with a connotation to the skin color, the skin tone, and just change it, man, so that you fit in more. It stands out so much.
I'll be honest. When I was a kid, I thought the Redskins, I thought it was referring to the ball, to the pigskin ball, and I thought that, when I was a kid, I literally didn't think that it had reference to Native Americans. I just knew we had an Indian because our high schools were the Indians. So I was like, okay, well, they're just the Indians. Redskins, that's the football.
Mm-hmm.
And then they told me, then I found out that Redskin was a derogatory term.
I got the whole Indian thing when I was growing up. I was like, okay, cool, got it.
Indians, right.
I didn't put Redskins and Indians together as like a negative thing though until like later on in high school. I was like, that's kind of messed up.
Same here, man. And then you start thinking about it like, oh shit, that's kind of fucked up. I mean, that's how it went down in my process.
It's all messed up. I wish they would just change the name, man. I'm tired of feeling like this. And I'm a fan. I watch every game. And like, I can't help but think about it. But you know what pisses me off too? Is like if they weren't named the Redskins. And this is all kind of spinning back into our argument about the use of slander words within, different ethnic groups and everything like that. But if they didn't have the name Redskins, say they had the name Warriors, and they still had the Indian mascot and everything, I don't think people would be as mad about it. You know, which is kind of a contradiction, right? Because they should take the whole caricature of the Indian off of any type of team name, mascot. There's no other group of people that is like that.
I didn't think about that. Well, here's the thing. Like,
so if they were named the Warriors and they still had
Seminoles,
right? Like, if they just took the name,
I think there's so much anger at the name Redskin.
You keep the picture, you keep all that stuff, just the Redskin name. Like, I didn't even think about that.
That is the most. That is the part that stands out the most. The Redskins.
Well, how would you?
I didn't even think about that.
How would you guys? So let's say, like, obviously the cotton pickers,
just be the Cherokees.
Wasn't that great.
I'd be cool with it.
But what if it was just like? What if it was? Let's call it like the DC, like Knights or something, like KNIGHT. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? But as a black dude, and he had like
I just got that shit. That's not why he was laughing.
Let's say that it was a black dude though, and like, but he had like a do rag or something on though. But it was just called the DC Knights.
I would think that would be freaking awesome. You know what I mean? Did we have did we have another team name?
Instead of having like the Texas cotton pickers and stuff. Right? Let's just say that instead of using derogatory terms, you know, we just go with, you know, like another name. Like instead of Warriors, you know, instead of Indians, with Native Americans, we use Warriors. What if it was like the DC Knights or something? Mm-hmm. And it's just a black dude, though, with a do-rag. Because we're talking about keeping the whole Indian, like, you know, character, right? But what if it was like one of...
Like the image.
And what if it was another image? What if it was a black dude?
I'm for this.
And he's called the Knights?
If you're going to change
first, it would make no damn sense.
If you're going to change the name of the Redskins, I'm for changing the name. Take Indians out of all mascotting team names, sport team names in America, at least. You know what I mean? I was about to say the world, but at least in America. Just take it out because there's no other group of people that are named for teams.
Right. That's why.
America,
that's why I brought
you know
up
what
the
I mean?
whole, like,
you can't stop at Redskins. Redskins stands out because of the name, Redskins, but it has to go deeper than that. And if you do that, if you take out Indian names, you're gonna have a group of white people over here to say, well, what about the Fighting Irish? You know what I mean? Like, I don't like our Irish countrymen being named after a school and trotted out there. What about the Minnesota Vikings and their mascot is a white guy? You know, yeah, the Boston Celtics. You know what I mean? Like, it's the rabbit hole goes deeper.
Awesome. I don't know, like people love
because of the name, but the mascot is a Caucasian man with a helmet on. You know what I mean?
If you look at the connotation of Vikings, they're pretty messed up. They're violent. They rape and pillage and stuff. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. We're going so much deeper than.
So should we just not use people in general as mascots?
I'm for that.
Oh yeah, let's go with animals.
Yeah, just go with like animals and
Black
sharks
Panthers.
or the
oh Lord, not the Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
The DC Black.
That would be awesome.
What?
Yo, who wouldn't get a jersey?
Be the Oakland Black Panthers, yeah.
Who wouldn't get a jersey?
That's what it'd be.
I'd definitely get a jersey, dog. The Black Panthers.
Yeah.
I'm getting a jersey, dog. But yeah, that's crazy.
Carolina already got that shit.
That's funny though. The DC Black Panthers. Yeah, man, I'm with it, man. Just take everybody out. Like, why not? I mean, but you never know what's going to offend people nowadays, and
I think it's just look.
You can really say.
Here's the thing, like I think it's just worth the effort. Instead of calling all things even, which is really bullshit. Instead of calling all things even, like just work it out. Find out who's offended. Find out why. See if they have historical credence to that, and then if it's offensive, like just go through the process. Mm-hmm. We got cell phones just popping today.
Yeah.
Just go through the process, you know. Like
if it's offensive, just change it.
Yeah, just change it, man. Like suck it up.
See, it's simple to us because we're
grow up.
Yeah, man.
It's simple to us because we're fans and spectators. But when you're a shareholder in these teams and companies,
dude, it's not that serious. These
it
guys
goes down to business.
You'll still make money though.
You're gonna make money if
your
your team loses. Like nobody's gonna stop going. And you know what? The people who are real fans, they'll go anyway, right? Also, the people who feel like they're selling out, they'll be back. Because they got shit else to do. They've already invested their entire lives.
In the NFL,
so you still live here. So
right, you still live here. You'll be back, right?
The NFL in particular does a thing that no other sports conglomerate does where they revenue share. So you have teams in smaller markets that don't make as much money as teams in larger markets, but they all pool together their money and then distribute it to the teams evenly. So that way you keep player salaries within competitive range. You're able to sign different players, and so even if you change the name of the Redskins, whatever kind of hit they would take financially would be backed up by the fact that they revenue share. So you could lean on the other 31 teams.
There you go.
There's really no. You notice on any Redskins jersey, they don't have the name Redskin on the jersey or the helmet or anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You might see it like across the front, a little small print, or on the back of the helmet, but they don't have the name, the title there. You know what I mean?
All people see is the Indian, like or the Native American, whatever you want to. But here's the thing, man.
And when they have their name on the bottom of the screen with the score, they never have the Redskins. They have the Washington. You know what I mean? They never have the Redskin.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like, don't hide it. Just you can't run from it forever, man. Just change the damn name. Let's move on. Right? But whatever.
Yeah, show a good face.
You ready to move on to the miscellaneous? Or you want to do something else there?
I also say, you guys out there, you guys have a better name. Drop it in the comment section.
Drop a comment, man.
I would love to hear like an alternative name. Like, what would you guys put?
I like the Warriors. We just roll with it. Why not?
Don't they already have the Golden State Warriors?
It's in basketball though, so it's kind of okay. I mean, you got the San Francisco Giants in baseball, you got the New York Giants in football, so
it's true.
It's kind of as long as it's not in the same sport. But just change it to something so we can move on past this shit. I'm tired of hearing about it. You know what I mean? Like, you're making me feel bad and shit.
I'm the civil rights activist.
And people be looking at me like, what? What?
The social justice warriors.
Social justice warriors.
It's crazy, man.
Golden State.
Y'all ready to move on to the miscellaneous section? Any miscellaneous articles, movies, stuff like that? But I definitely did want to talk about this wireless power delivery thing that I seen from Disney, man. That was kind of like
the video wasn't played for me. I understand.
All right, word. Well, all right. So,
give us the rundown.
Yeah, what is go through the rundown of this. Of course, it's via World Star Hip Hop, which, like I said in the group chat earlier, like they do have a lot of fuckery kind of videos, fight compilations, and dude catches wife cheating on him, and he busts a dude in the mouth or some shit. You know what I mean? But they do have a lot of like socially conscious videos and different.
I'm empathetic to that.
Yeah, different videos and stuff like that. But one title of the article is Disney researchers demonstrate how an entire room can be powered by wireless electricity. And I thought this was kind of interesting because I'm like, is that really going to be safe for us? Are we all going to get cancer from this shit? But anyway,
bro,
let me read this. And there are a bunch of words in here that
I'm going to be gone.
If you watch the video, they'll break it down to you, but you're not going to understand what the hell they're talking about. They're talking about how like the quasiatic energy can be transferred to we don't know what that shit means. Basically, it's like Bluetooth electricity almost. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of have something like that for cell phones now, right? For those little, like you set your phone like this little pad.
Yeah. But it's like
it'll charge your phone.
All right, so let me read it. Wireless power delivery has the potential to seamlessly power our electrical devices as easily as data is transmitted through the air. However, existing solutions are limited to near contact distances and do not provide the geometric freedom to enable automatic and unaided charging.
Oh, yeah.
We introduce quasiatic cavity resonance, which can enable purpose-built structures such as cabinets, rooms, and warehouses to generate quasiatic magnetic fields that safely deliver kilowatts of power to mobile receivers contained nearly anywhere within. And then they go on, you watch the video, they'll show you how they can like wire this room. Basically,
this is the beginning of mutants. Like, this is how mutants start.
If you walk into like a casino or a hospital, anything you have that's
Bruce
wireless,
Banner, yo. The Hulk's gonna come out.
Anything you have that's wireless will just be charging the whole time you're in there. Maybe they'll have like a setting where you could turn charging on or off, but
so
charge.
So this is just my 2 cents right now.
The possibilities are limitless because
I love this because no more tripping on wires, no more like catching your shirt on some.
Your microwave won't have to be plugged in.
Exactly.
Your TV.
That'd be great.
Your cell phone.
However, back to what you're saying, Juice. What about cancer, man? Now I'm kind of nervous with all these.
If you'll get cancer, our kids will have superpowers.
I'm telling you, dude, we're going to be mutated. Like, so
I mean,
that's why I call my mom. Like, is this going to be safe? Have they done human testing on this?
Why
shit?
can't I see no more?
I mean, like, if I'm getting an X-ray, why I got to wear that little thing?
Exactly. I got to go like this freaking body scanner.
So if I have my microwave charging and I have my cell phone charging in the corner, like, am I okay? Should I be wearing some kind of?
Think about that. If you go to the dentist office and you get your teeth X-ray, they put this whole body like lead suit on you.
Right? Yeah. Let's exactly.
Like, is the rest of my mouth okay?
So no, is your brain okay?
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're getting an X-ray of your mouth, right? What about your brain? What about your eyes? Or what about your that makes me nervous. Okay, so if we have these things that are going on, right? Like, should I start investing in like lead and?
I know, right? Lead, the stocks in lead are gonna skyrocket.
But think about the uses for this thing, though. I mean, because they explained in the video how you can shrink the size of the what do they call it? Resonance, quasi-atic cavity resonance, right? So you can shrink it or increase it. So you can have it small to where it powers a home or a casino or a hospital. You can have it large to where it can power villages in Africa or villages in China or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, there'll probably be endless applications for this technology, but
I mean, it's fascinating.
is it going to turn us into mutants? You know,
Again,
That's what I
because I'm
wanna know.
cynical. I just worry about like what if things go wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, for example, Samsung, right? Like that cell phone exploding and stuff, right?
Right.
If
So
that's
you
a
don't
cell
want the
phone,
first gen of
right?
this. You don't want the first generation.
And wait for the second gen. So these
Maybe third or
these
fourth.
quasi like powering devices, like these power supplies, right? If they blow up, I don't like what might happen. Like
What might
radiation at a 2-block radius. Like what's going on?
Dude, man.
We don't know. It's freaking
I don't need
scary.
my skin turning green. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man. I mean, it may be cool. You'd be invulnerable. You get this healing factor. You're straight.
But what if you're just beasting? You just
Just blew.
you have
furry.
no power.
Damn.
You just blew.
Like, you lucked out and shit. Some mutants definitely just got the short end of the stick and shit.
Damn, I mean, if we can develop like mutant powers like the X-Men, that'd be cool. But
So have you
Gonna
guys
just,
heard
like,
about
deform us. I
that
would hate
diamond, the diamond battery they're working on?
Mm.
So this is new.
It was like
I
an
guess,
everlasting
technology.
battery.
They had it in. They were talking about it in The Economist, and it's this battery. No, it's the ability to use nuclear waste, take out the carbon-14 element out of the nuclear waste, use it to charge a diamond, right? Synthetic diamond we can make by using pressure on like coal or whatever kind of stone or granite, I guess, whatever.
Mhm.
And then they have these, and then these little diamonds that they charge with this energy, they'll last for like up to maybe 10,000 years worth of energy. I mean, it's not a lot of energy, but it's pretty much never needs to be recharged.
So the
Not in a couple
Millennia.
millennia.
So the two things I worry about. Number one is De Beers owns a huge like monopoly on diamonds.
Who?
De Beers.
Okay.
Diamond company.
So like like these people like they're like, oh, there's like Marvin's diamonds or like there's whatever, right? Like
I heard they do.
like the biggest corporation that sells to all these little branches is De Beers. They have a monopoly. So if you don't have a De Beers diamond, like
They will get diamonds, buy them, hoard them to keep the prices of the
right,
diamonds up.
exactly.
You know
So
what I mean?
that's one thing that I worry about De Beers. Number two is like economically, like we want things that are like eco-friendly, sustainable. Like
Well,
if
these
we-
diamonds will be something like that.
right?
They-
But
How
I'm
they
much
don't-
is that
they don't
battery going to
create-
be?
right. But at the same time, though,
Right.
think about cell
Mhm.
phones. Like no one keeps cell phones. At least most people that I know don't keep it for longer than 2-3 years. They always keep on upgrading. So then you have these cell phones that's gonna sit in like landfills for like decades, centuries.
That's gonna happen anyway. Though.
Hmm.
But here's the
crazy.
thing, like, so the thing about those diamonds is that they don't, the charge, it lasts pretty much forever, but
That's cool,
it's
though.
such a low level charge. Like it's, like they say, like a AA battery is like, what was it, like 3,000 joules,
Mhm.
but that diamond charge is like 5 joules. So it's like they're talking about using it mostly for like not like your cell phone or anything, but maybe for like space. Like
Yeah.
we're sending things out into space, or we need something like maybe a watch or something,
Mhm.
right? Like something you would need to keep going for a long period of time that would take low energy that you would just need to keep going on like a super low charge,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, that's what you're saying. It might be useful for.
That's
cool.
weird. I
But
saw this video
if
of
they could up the power, like
it's this
Lot
machine
of
that was
potential.
built by, it was funded by Bill Gates, right, in this corporation. I forget the exact engineer, scientist, whatever, that built the machine, but it's something that they're applying in Africa. And it's a massive machine, man. It takes like
I saw
actual
that.
physical waste, right?
Uh-huh.
And
The
did we
water.
watch that here?
Yeah, I showed it to you guys.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I was saying that to say, like, these like they have technologies to support and help mass quantities of people, but the problem with this society and country and world in general is that it's going to be capitalized, monetized, and monopolized. You know what I mean?
And if it doesn't generate
if
like,
it doesn't
profit,
generate wealth or profit,
then
it's useless. You know what I mean? And it's like it doesn't make any sense. Like so that diamond battery is going to cost like how much money? A diamond battery is going to be freaking expensive.
Well, what's the thing? Like they can like create like synthetic diamonds, right? So anything we create synthetically, as long as we have the materials to make it, which is just pressure and coal, like we can create infinite amount of diamonds. You have those people hoarding them, of course, but that's the only reason they're actually probably as expensive as they are now. Like,
that's a whole marketing thing, man.
Yeah, true. Right, marketing but if there's other uses for these things, I mean, I'm just saying the potential is there.
Yeah, it is.
Right, the potential to create new forms of energy and also whatever they're doing with the nuclear waste. Like, I don't know what happens after you take out carbon-14 with nuclear waste, but apparently that's a radioactive element, and they're using that radioactive element in a battery charge. So that does something with nuclear waste.
What about the battery ruptures?
I don't know. Is that safe for us though? Is that safe for us to use? Or?
Yeah, it is because the diamond's casing keeps the charge inside of it. Okay. And diamond is the hardest element we know, so it's not just going to break open.
Right. In this miscellaneous section, I think we should do like a run and gun kind of deal where we just like shoot through different topics just to shorten it up, man. There's another article I seen, of course, via World Star Hip Hop. They got it via. I want to give credit to the site I got it from, but I'll give credit to who they got it from. They got it via CNN. They did a little article or piece about it. It says late founder of Little Caesars Pizza quietly paid Rosa Parks rent for years.
Oh, I read that. Yeah.
So I'm gonna read the little description here.
I read that.
That's why I said we got to get the little video camera so we can show these little snippets.
Who was I talking to about that recently?
All right. It says the late founder of Little Caesars Pizza and sports team owner Mike Ilitch, I want to say his name is, was known for his number of contributions to the Detroit community, but many were unaware that he quietly helped a civil rights icon. Ilitch, who owned the Detroit Tigers and Detroit Red Wings, passed away at the age of 87 last Friday. It was revealed in an article published by the Sports Business Daily in 2014 that Ilitch had paid for Rosa Parks' apartment for more than a decade until her death in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't have got her house?
I thought that was kind of cool. Ilitch being a man of Caucasian descent. I don't know what bonded them together, or we have time to discuss that, or how he started to do that, but I wanted to give him props for that. That was kind of cool. Billionaire. He didn't have to do that. Why he did it, I want to know. Which they probably go through an article. I'm just not remembering. And it said that he did it for more than a decade until her death in 2005.
It was nice.
Damn, it's kind of late, isn't it? I mean, she was like, you could have paid her rent from 19. When did she not get up and give up a seat?
You could have bought her a house.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
But,
like,
hey,
why you gonna pay her rent?
Yeah, but maybe she didn't want to
leave,
look,
though.
Maybe she wanted to stay in that area.
Maybe she wanted to keep the house that she had, which was an apartment. That's she was like, I'm not moving. So, I don't know. But yeah, it was a nice gesture, I thought. Thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't want to be pessimistic.
Yeah, who freaking knows? Like, like what even?
Like, I don't want to sound ungrateful for helping out our civil rights icon and shit.
Fucked up,
but bro, you're a billionaire, man. Like, come on, you could have got her a goddamn house. But it's cool. It's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you for this. $78 a month. Okay,
and may he rest in peace.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was a nice gesture. I'm sure he didn't have to do it.
Good looking out.
All right, running gun style. Another article I saw.
Just saying.
Russia is considering handing over Edward Snowden to Trump as a gift to improve U.S. relations.
That is some shit I want to talk about.
Wow. So, like, now you can leverage, a quote-unquote traitors or quote-unquote also patriots and leverage them from other countries. Like, like, what has he been doing in Russia this whole time? They're giving him asylum. What the hell are they doing with him? Are they torturing him for information?
I don't know.
Is he working with them?
Like, but he has
fall
contact
from the public eye?
Like he's not falling from the public eye. He's done a couple of videos. He's stuff online. Like he's done interviews. Like he's not completely like off the radar.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that first off, like come on, Putin. Like it's kind of a dick move. Like you gave him asylum for how many years now?
Like what are his conditions in Russia? You know, I looked on Wikipedia, tried to find some stuff like how he's living now, and
That was
I couldn't find anything.
How what's his name? Julian Assange is living.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, he's living good. He's in this embassy, but still, like, he can't fucking leave that embassy at all.
Yeah, so it's like, are you a prisoner, political prisoner?
Either way, yeah, like he can't leave because there's this hitman just hanging out waiting for him to go outside.
All right. Description: according to recent information gathered by U.S. intelligence, Russia is considering turning over Edward Snowden as a quote gift to Donald Trump, who has called the NSA leaker a spy and a traitor. According to former Deputy National Security Advisor Juan Zerat, the deal would be a win-win for Russia, saying not only would it signal warmer relations and desire for greater cooperation with the new administration, it would also probably stoke controversies and cases in the U.S. around the role of surveillance and the role of the U.S. intelligence community and the future of privacy and civil liberties in the United States. So I thought this affected all of us because where do you draw the line at surveillance and civil liberties of privacy?
Bro, that
You know what I
line
mean?
been crossed.
Can you keep anything private?
They were talking. What was it? I was talking to last night. I was talking to my girlfriend's friend and her daughter. She's got like a high level security clearance. She works for like, north of Grumman. I don't know if this is a problem if I say this shit, but anyway, so she works for north of Grumman, right? And
Do you
so
need
careful.
to yeah, be careful what you reveal right now, all right?
But anyway, she was saying that like
They're gonna come in
like
here
in
and
the
bag
building.
this dude. You know how they come over and put the black bag
I know,
over your
right?
head? They're gonna come in there and bag you.
But yo, she was saying that when she got her clearance, like the same office building she was working in for like years before she got a clearance, like they took her into a new part, which is pretty much a wall that was in the main area.
Mm-hmm.
But that motherfucking wall opened up. She said she worked there for years, never knew that wall opened up. They walked into the back, and they have just surveillance, just systems just laid out. And she was saying that they were watching the dude in Sydney drinking coffee, like Sydney, Australia, drinking coffee from this place in fucking DC. Just sitting him on it, watching him on his porch.
Talking about
It's
this.
real, right? I mean, even video games like
I'm just
Watch
saying.
Dogs and surveillance, that shit is real, man. You
yeah,
got
this
street
is
cameras
out there,
everywhere. You got building
I
cameras.
mean, real talk
security
though,
cameras.
if you talk to your phone, I guarantee you'll get ads
Mhm.
for whatever you say. Even if you
Yo, I'm telling you, remember I think it was last cast we were talking about, you know, why do I always get these same posts from these same few websites or whatever that you follow on Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
When we talked about that, I swear to God, I started noticing a more diverse layout of my articles on
They're like,
Facebook.
oh shit, he's on to us.
No, I swear to God, I started seeing stuff from like Black Roots and Zeitgeist and all these things I hadn't seen in forever. I'm like, do I need to update my? I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I haven't seen this shit in forever, you know?
he's
Man.
on to us. He's on to us.
Telling you this shit is scary, man.
No. There's also that famous picture of Mark Zuckerberg, you know, like taking a picture of himself in front of the computer. If you look at his computer, he has tape over his over his microphone, and he has tape over his webcam. Like there's a reason why he's doing that. You know what I'm saying?
They're just
Everyone's listening.
sucking in data.
So
That's why I told Jay not to say the word algorithm on the podcast anymore. That shit is fucking scary. I was like, Jesus. But yeah, I just thought those are a few interesting articles that, you know, we can talk about. Especially that Edward Snowden one, man. That affects all of us, man. Privacy, civil liberties. You know, it's a capitalist corporate world, man. And if we don't have the finances or the political push behind these things, like our civil liberties can just be trampled regardless of team names or privacy or surveillance, whatever, because we can't fight back. These people can just do it. Who's gonna reprimand them? You know what I mean? Who's gonna reprimand the owner of the Redskins? Nobody. He's a billionaire. Like, I don't. So what? You know what? A couple guys on the Intelligent Idea Talker podcast don't like the team name. So what?
Speaking of billionaires, I heard
But
that
our millions of
Samsung-
followers.
I heard that the Samsung
That's where the power is. Now
CEO
millions of followers.
There's a news article that just came out on the CEO of Samsung, who was a billionaire, that he was just incarcerated,
What?
thrown in jail in South Korea.
Damn,
Really?
South Korea too.
For what?
He's doing a bunch of shady stuff. But I didn't read too much into the article.
All these guys are, man. You
But,
heard
like,
about?
they're untouchable, man. These
Mhm.
untouchable people, though, like because of people like Snowden, like we're starting to like realize, you know, that we've had wool for our eyes, man.
Mhm.
Like, you know, we were starting to realize that there's a lot going on
It's a
out
whole
there that
nother world
that
going
we
on.
should know about. So the
It's
fact
the
that
Matrix, really. Like,
So the fact
keep
that
us in
these
this bubble.
whistleblowers are
There's
getting
something else going on
like
entirely.
the fact that you know, Snowden is in trouble. Like, come on, man. Like, he should be celebrated.
He is a hero, but the government doesn't recognize him as a hero because he outed the government, which is the entire reason why he's a hero, right? Like, he is the freedom fighter of our generation.
He's a hero and a traitor at the same time. You know?
Right, you know, he's the guy movies are made of. I guess they made that movie. I haven't watched it.
I didn't see it.
It's weird. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, me neither.
They must have took that shit at the theater real quick.
Yeah, man, it's scary, man. These guys
It
can
goes
do
straight to
whatever they
DVD.
want, man, and we can't really stop them. They were talking about a couple car companies, Audi and I want to say maybe Chrysler or something like that.
Mhm.
Might have been Mitsubishi. They have been installing, and you know, I got this from my favorite economist on YouTube, Richard Wolff. Okay, but they have been installing devices in their cars that belay the status of their emissions. So they make the emissions appear to be lower than they actually are, because when you have higher emissions, something
Isn't that
within the
shit,
engine.
Volkswagen just caught
Yeah,
for it,
Volkswagen. That's the other company. Volkswagen and
too? So now Audi got caught up in the same?
Audi. Yes. Yeah.
Oh man!
So they've been installing these devices that lie on emissions tests. They're emitting more
data.
No, they're emitting toxic gases at a higher rate than is legally allowed. You know, and they have these devices that trick the emissions test. You know, so that way they can sell millions of these cars and pass inspections, because when you have something with the engine, when you have more emissions, there's a lot more zip to the car. It's faster, you know what I mean? Pedals, the pedals are a lot more sensitive. So it's crazy, man. These guys can do whatever they fucking want, and they probably already are.
Dude, if they do what they do with
corporate
Volkswagen,
espionage,
they're gonna be paying for this shit, because Volkswagen took a fucking heavy ass hit financially.
Even Audi.
But that's the thing, like,
they said they fined them like 100 and some billion.
Like,
not billion, but million. I don't know. It's crazy, man. Guys do whatever they want.
I mean, our state department head, like, is the fucking CEO of Exxon, or former CEO of Exxon. So, like, will shit like that matter anymore?
A lot of these guys
like,
do,
it probably
man.
won't matter
Like,
anymore.
I've been on my documentary kick, and they've been talking about how, like, the financial sector is the governmental sector at the same time. You know, like, that's why these guys bounce between jobs. You'll have, like, the president of Goldman Sachs will become the head of labor, or you know, then they just bounce between jobs. After he's not the head of labor anymore, he'll go to be the president of Wells Fargo or something. You know what I mean? They just bounce between these jobs, man. Financial sector is crazy. The business of America is business. It's not manufacturing. It's not exporting, anything like that. It's business, man. And you know, here on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, we try to do our part to bring you a small slice of our opinion and information, and you know, trying to let these guys know that we are conscious of these things.
Exposure to new ideas and new things that we may have come across.
Get dialogue talking.
Definitely, man.
Get things going.
But yeah, I guess that's probably gonna wrap us up for episode 16 in the books. Intelligent Idea Talkers.
Yes,
God damn. Yo, we're creeping closer and closer to that year anniversary. Closer and closer.
What? That's crazy, man. That is crazy. We got to have a party or something.
Yeah, man, we should.
Like, maybe we can do a podcast.
Like an extravaganza cast or some shit, you know.
Or do like a cast. I
Your little
don't know,
noise
like
makers.
somewhere, right? Like, I don't know, like do a podcast with some people. I don't know, man.
We should do it with like a bigger group.
Right, like have some people over, you know, and
Maybe we'll sip on some champagne.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that.
We
Like
have
have
like a
an
cookout or
anniversary cast or something like that.
like we have like a cookout. We just do the cast during the cookout, right? Or something. I don't know, man. We're gonna brainstorm some ideas, but yeah, we're gonna do something for our year anniversary.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's gonna take us out. Once again, Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, YouTube,
SoundCloud,
subscribe,
Instagram.
like,
As soon as I get
comment.
the password back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt, man. Has anybody talked to Ace?
I texted her. I've been
I'm a
texting
messenger.
her a little bit, but
I'm a messenger.
yeah, man.
Yep. Well, that's gonna take us out, man. I guess once again, I'm your host D.
This is Juice.
This is Jay.
Yeah.
Peace.
Out.